As you know, I've spent getting on for 30 years now at one institution, the Roslin Institute, but I guess over the past 15 years, most of my research has been pursued through consortia, international, European, in farm genetics and genomics. On the other hand, you've been involved in similar consortia, but you've moved around a lot more. You've worked in the UK, worked in Canada, currently in Australia, and of course you spent some time here at ILRI, so I guess you've seen more variety than I have. In the challenges and the opportunities in terms of animal production in these 4 continents are quite different. The opportunities in research are quite different. What do you think the unique things are, research-wise and challenge-wise, in Africa?
Well, I think there's one of the things about moving around is you notice both the similarities and the differences. Perhaps the similarities are that it's the ways of going about research are really very similar wherever you are. You mentioned how you've been involved in consortia. But I think if we go back to when we started our careers, certainly myself, I started my PhD working as a single individual with a supervisor. And over time, as the techniques have developed in our field, the field you work in, the field I work in, what we found is that it's become less and less possible to work as an individual and more important to work as large teams, harnessing all the new technologies that have literally revolutionized the field that we work in. So the similarity is it doesn't make any difference about whether I'm running projects in where I am now, Australia, when I was here in ILRI, when previously in Canada, or when we were working in the same institution back in Scotland. It was always about bringing together teams, and increasingly over the years, everywhere, it's bringing together those big consortia. Where the difference working here is that the main added dimension is that when you and I put together a team in our home countries, we usually have the privilege of working with bright, sometimes older scientists like ourselves, young scientists who are just getting enthused. They bring a great deal of enthusiasm. That's the excitement about working in science. And that's true wherever you go. But when you can put a team together and add that dimension of saying you're bringing your scientific skills to a problem that has real impact for humanity, can make a real difference to people's lives, you add an extra dimension to their work. And the most exciting thing I found about working here in Africa and putting teams together was that additional spark that really drove the research teams that we work in. And you must have seen that, from some of your own people that have had the opportunity to work in collaboration with teams here and elsewhere internationally.
Addressing research projects that are going to tackle real issues for people and that are going to affect their lives here adds another dimension to it. But I can kind of come back to where I was trying to start from. What are the unique things that Africa can bring to the research itself in terms of the opportunities here, but also the biological challenges?
Well, I think one of the big issues is that if you're working on the African continent, there are massive real problems for real people's lives in terms of abject poverty, issues such as livestock disease and human disease, which have, if they can be solved, can have just enormous impact on people's lives. And I actually believe that's something that we can really bring from an African perspective to the rest of the world, is that additional excitement of really trying to make an impact on people's lives. From a more technical point of view, some of the systems we work with, and we've been discussing here at this workshop, trypanosomosis, is not just a real issue for people's lives. Trypanosomosis can be a devastating disease of their livestock, can literally drive people into poverty if it strikes, if they can't control it. But it's also a wonderful model system of how parasites and their hosts interact. And the facilities here provide the opportunity to actually work with animals that are exposed to the disease, so that you can build up a model system which can be a model of host and parasite interactions for many other systems all around the world. And because the diseases are endemic here, it's possible to work with these diseases in ways that's simply not possible if you're based in North America or based in Europe. So it's what Africa can bring is systems that are not just problems for real people, but they also provide exciting platforms for understanding biology, understanding disease, which has ramifications for science and for human health and livestock health all around the world.
I mean, I guess talking of spin-offs, Maurice Agaba earlier on today was comparing, I guess, the ambition to eliminate trypanosomiasis is similar to going to the moon. And I guess those who want to pursue interesting science for the sake of interesting science point to the moonshot and say, okay, we got benefits for mankind out of that. We all got non-stick frying pans, kind of a trickle-down serendipity out of it. But you've got to have a pretty big project to get the benefits that way. And it's difficult to see that it's ever going to be that big here to get trickle-down benefits. So you must surely have some sort of directed effort.
No, absolutely. And trypanosomosis is a bit like going to the moon. Solving this, it's a huge problem across Africa. No one research project is going to come up with the answer. No one research group is going to come up with the answer. And it's a real dilemma for an institute such as ILRI that its traditional donors are much more interested in rapid fixes to problems on the ground. But as scientists, we know that this is in today's terminology, a big, hairy, audacious goal. And big, hairy, audacious goals require big, hairy, audacious budgets and teams and timescales to put them together. So what ILRI can do is using what is, in international terms, a very modest platform in terms of an investment from the international community to then go out to the rest of the world, to colleagues such as yourself and your group and the colleagues that we work with around the world, to get them enthused and to understand what exciting problems there are here, get them enthused about them and get them working in their own countries on behalf of the problems here. And that's the real excitement about Becker and ILRI's commitment to the development of organizations like Becker, which is the opportunity not just to do the science, but to train the next generation of scientists coming from the region who will drive their own agenda and their own region's agenda in the next generation.
Yeah. I couldn't agree any more, John. I mean, and during the days here, it's been great to lap up the enthusiasm and the commitment from the folk here. But none of us are getting any younger, so we need some folk to come in and take our places.
Absolutely.